I now give the floor to the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Resolution 2231 that the Council just adopted represents a significant development and marks a fundamental shift in the consideration of Iran's peaceful nuclear program by the Council in the past 10 years. The JCPOA is the result of a series of extensive and collective efforts that sought for close to 2 years to give diplomacy a chance and end the resort to pressure, coercion, and threat. This fundamentally different approach, which was a departure from the past travel during the preceding years, helped all of us opt for the best possible way out, put an end to an unnecessary crisis, and accomplish major achievement for all the parties involved and the whole international community. The resolution that was adopted and the JCPOA that was endorsed today provided also for the termination of the Security Council resolution that unjustifiably placed sanctions on Iran for its efforts to exercise its rights. They were grounded on nothing but baseless and pure speculation and hearsay. Nobody has ever presented any proof indicating that Iran's program has been anything but peaceful. The IAEA that put Iran's facilities under a record inspection has consistently reported that Iran has dutifully stood by every single commitment. For example, in terms of inspection frequency, only Japan has been subject to greater scrutiny than Iran, while Japan has much more extensive nuclear facilities. Last year, Iran even surpassed Japan in the number of inspections. Therefore, the involvement of the Security Council was not caused by a suspicious nuclear weapon program, but driven by the stated objective in SCR 1696 to compel Iran to suspend its lawful enrichment program. That demand was not only unnecessary and uncalled for, but in fact ran counter to the unanimous conclusions of the 2000 and 2010 NPT review conferences, which stipulate that the choices of member states with regard to their fuel cycle activities must be respected. It also neglected the repeated demands of the majority of the international community represented in NAM. The sanctions imposed against Iran in SCR 1737 through 1929 were all punishments for the refusal of the Iranian people to accept that demand. In engaging with E3/EU+3, the Iranian people have had the foresight to move forward without losing sight of the past. Therefore, while we hope that the Security Council will open a new chapter in its relations with Iran, we cannot accept or forget its previous treatment of Iran, starting from its inaction in the face of Saddam's aggression and the use of chemical weapons to its more recent treatment of the Iranian peaceful nuclear program. The solution that we arrive at is undoubtedly in the interest of strengthening the regime of nuclear non-proliferation in its entirety, as it includes and recognizes the right of Iran to develop nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, including uranium enrichment activities and R&D on its soil. Rights and obligations of states parties to the NPT, as under any other international regime, can only go hand in hand. Obligations would be honored, and these regimes, including the NPT, sustain only if rights could also be achievable. No threats of sanction or war could help sustain the NPT in the long run if big powers fail to honor all its three pillars, including total nuclear disarmament and right of all to use nuclear energy. And non-parties are rewarded by their intransigence. Looking up to the future, my government hopes that the JCPOA and Resolution 2231 herald a new chapter in the relation between Iran with the Council and the JCPOA participants. Iran is both in a position and willing to comply fully with its commitment under the JCPOA because it is already committed to the fatwa of its supreme leader, who has declared all weapons of mass destruction, particularly nuclear weapons, to be haram, and its defense doctrine also so requires. We hope that our partners, as well as the Council, do the same with regards to their commitments under the same documents. The desire expressed by the Council to build a new relationship with Iran, it's encouraging all member states to cooperate with Iran in the framework of the JCPOA in the field of peaceful use of nuclear energy and related projects, as well as its emphasis that the JCPOA is conducive to promoting and facilitating the development of normal economic and trade contacts and cooperation with Iran, are all positive signs and all encouraging. Mr. President, while they still focus on the nuclear issue, Iran expects it to have a wider positive implication for our region and the whole international community, including the following. First, the deal which was sealed on this basis of mutual respect and understanding is an important achievement for diplomacy over pressure and coercion, and could produce nothing with regard to Iran in the past 37 years. It reinforces faith in diplomacy as the most rational way to resolve differences in our interconnected world, and shows that diplomacy can work and prevail over war and tension. It is therefore a clear message to those who still believe that they can achieve everything through force and coercion. Second, the JCPOA has the potential to help trigger a major development in this region towards more cooperation and coordination aimed at addressing the real issues at hand. Thus, we earnestly hope that it helps turn the page in our region, enabling countries to close their ranks and fight resolutely against violent extremism, and to move towards more cooperation to address the grave threats that our region and the world face. While all countries in our region have a very high stake in defeating terrorism, violent extremism, and sectarianism, the JCPOA participants are also facing similar challenges in their security from these phenomena. With the dust settled over the nuclear issue, we are now free to focus on real issues and benefit from the better environment conducive to a wider cooperation among all actors. Third, in the wake of this major development in the region, we renew our call to our neighbors and friends in the Persian Gulf and the wider region that Iran is ready to engage in good faith with all of them based on mutual respect, good neighborliness, and brotherhood. We have many common challenges in our region to address and many common opportunities to benefit from. This is the time to start working together against our most common and important challenges, which includes, above all, violent extremism. Fourth, the Israeli regime, following its general policy to stoke tension in the region, has done whatever in its power to sabotage and defeat any effort towards resolving the standoff over Iran's nuclear energy program. In so doing, it proves once more that it does not see peace in our region in its interest and considers peace as an existential threat to itself. The Iranophobia that they try to spread in the region and beyond is also to serve this nefarious purpose. Thus, we alert our friends and neighbors not to fall into their trap. In this context, It is also not surprising that the Israeli regime is the only obstacle in the way of establishing a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East that my country initiated more than 40 years ago and has ever since promoted. We believe that nuclear warheads stockpiled by the Israeli regime constitute a grave threat to peace and security in our unstable region, and the Security Council should live up to its primary responsibility under the UN Charter and take necessary action to neutralize this. Mr. President, let me recall that Iran, as a nation with a rich culture and civilization, has withstood enormous millennial storms while being steadfast in preserving its independence and identity. These have not been acquired through oppressing others or reneging on commitments. The steadfastness of our delegation showed during the negotiation stemmed from the fact that we only accept commitments that we can abide by. As Iran is resolute in fulfilling its obligations, we expect that our counterparts remain also faithful to theirs. Only through honoring commitments, displaying good faith, and adopting the right approach can diplomacy prevail over conflict and war in a world that is replete with violence, suffering, and oppression. In this context, the JCPOA provides a solid foundation for further and more effective diplomatic interaction. Before I conclude, let me thank those ambassadors who supported the JCPOA and also those countries who helped this deal happen. And also let me briefly react to some baseless accusations leveled by some members, some previous speakers. It is ironic that the distinguished ambassador of the United States accused my government of destabilizing the region and terrorism. The country that invaded two countries in our region and created favorable ground for the growth of terrorism and extremism is not well placed to raise such accusations against my country. Fakeless and reckless acts of the United States in our region for so many years are at the root of many challenges that we are now facing in our neighborhood. Iran is a stable country in an unstable region. As we want our stability to persist, we do promote the stability in the region, and we help our neighbors to stabilize and cooperate toward this end. In conclusion, Mr. President, let me also inform you that my delegation, upon the instruction from my government, is forwarding the statement of the Islamic Republic of Iran following the action taken today by the Security Council to be circulated as a document of the Security Council. Thank you, Mr. President.